Welcome to our Public Matters podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Johnny.
Tonight, we're on episode number 94, and we're going to be talking a little bit about USAID, the COVID-19 jab, the Federal Reserve, and tariffs, among other things. So I think if we chase Jesus as hard as we chase the things we think we want, we would end up with more than we ever need.
Amen.
And on the right is just an illustration. I don't think we've seen anywhere near the corruption and wasteful spending, that there is.
We haven't made it to the DOD yet. Will it get to the Pentagon?
Yeah, and we get to the Federal Reserve, the Treasury.
Yep.
This is the tip of the iceberg. It's quite insane to watch people who robbed us blind trying to justify being upset at us for catching them. That's exactly what the Democrats are doing.
Exactly. And then these people that are stealing us blind, look how much they work. On the calendar next to it, they offer a week every month, 2 weeks in April, the whole month of August. I mean, we're paying them $180,000 a year plus all they can steal, and that's all they're working. The rest of us are working. We haven't worked 5 days a week. 50 weeks
I wish I had a
year.
month off.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, they're operating like the Europeans now. It's ridiculous.
Then you put these couple of slides in there. There's a quote from Rush Limbaugh: "The people that voted for Trump are never going to abandon him. I don't care what Mueller does. I don't care what the media does. They're never going to abandon him. You know why? They elected him knowing who he is. In many cases, they admire who he is. He's the one standing in the way of them losing their country. In their minds, that's what's at stake."
Never truer words were said, and of course Rush Limbaugh was right on about just about everything. He's really missed right now too.
Now on the right, reminder: any member of government who violates the U.S. Constitution is supposed to be removed from office, not warned, not voted out, arrested, and removed. Amen on that.
Amen. Yeah, sent to Gitmo.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then on the left, this isn't anger, it's fear. The Democrats are just having their meltdown, especially over Kash Patel.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And they're afraid of this guy right here. Like you said, Kash Patel. He knows where all the bodies are buried. And they are scared to death.
Yeah, let's watch this little short clip of Kash Patel.
Our national security mission is equally as important. Anyone that wishes to do harm to our way of life and our citizens here or abroad will face the full wrath of the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And if you seek to hide in any corner of this country or any corner of this planet, we will put on the world's largest manhunt and we will find you. And we will decide your end state, not you. We will uphold the Constitution. We will uphold ourselves to the Constitution.
Yeah, they're just shaking in their boots on this one.
Yep. Delaying on him on the vote. They just did not want him in there. He's already moved 1,000 people out of their office in Washington, plus 500 that sent it to Huntsville. So he's moving and shaking already.
Let's see. We have a couple more clips here. On the left, we have a short clip from John Kennedy. And on the right, we have a little clip from Pam Bondi, or interviewing Pam Bondi. So we'll take a look at those.
Folks, I believe that love is the answer, but you ought to own a handgun just in case.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll check back with you.
Wait till they release all these files. Really going to see a meltdown, I think.
I believe you're right, Chris.
Yeah, I can't wait to see them. Hopefully it'll be soon.
Yeah, I hope the review doesn't take too long.
So we have an article on the left from Zero Hedge. It says the clearest image of U.S. Navy's directed energy weapon firing laser rounds. So this is Lockheed Martin's Helos high energy laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance weapon that has been successfully deployed aboard a U.S. Navy warship designed to counter unmanned aerial threats. The high-energy laser weapon operates at a cost of only a few dollars per shot, an extraordinary savings for the Navy, which has a habit of spending tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars per missile interception. And then on the right, there's just some more information about this solution, this Helo solution. So this is proof that of the directed energy weapons that we talked about in a previous podcast.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and they're talking about spending hundreds of thousands. You know, we're spending over $1 million a piece on missiles that we're shooting at $20,000 drones over in the Middle East. So we need a low-cost alternative. This is like our good one.
Yeah, it does. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll be successful. Then these are both articles from Resist the Mainstream, but on the left we have Rand Paul, who's extending this invitation for Elon to go audit Fort Knox and review our gold reserves. So I think President Trump said we're definitely doing that. We're definitely going to.
Yeah, he said it. He said it today in his speech at CPAC that they were going to look at the gold. He said, "I sure hope it's there."
Yeah. Well, what's going to happen if it's not?
I believe all hell's probably going to break loose.
Then on the right, we had Vivek. So he's running, or has the intention of running for governor of Ohio. So he's filed the official paperwork. So what do you think of this, Johnny?
I think it'd be a whole lot better than what they got now. Governor of Ohio is real wishy-washy. I like Vivek. I think he'll make a good one.
Yeah, I like him a lot too. I wonder what happened between him and Elon over the DOGE. You know, initially they were both going to be running DOGE.
Honestly, I don't know. I've heard, they kind of had maybe some conflicting ideas as to how it should be done, but I don't know what those were. It hadn't been a whole lot explanation or any detail on that, so who knows? Two billionaires trying to operate together,
They don't always play together well.
No, they don't.
So on the left, this is off of X from U.S. Homeland Security. So AOC will face charges for teaching illegal immigrants how to avoid capture by ICE. I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, it can't happen to a better person.
And then on the right, of course, there's been a lot of talk about DOGE dividends that Elon Musk suggested, as well as President Trump.
Well, I think it's a heck of an idea to give us back some of the money they've been stealing from us all these years. And of course, they're only talking about 20% about what they recover. In the grand scheme of things, that's not going to be much. Maybe.
No, I've heard $5,000. That's been mentioned as well.
Yeah, and then I've also saw a quote where Mike Johnson said it ain't going to happen. We need to pay down the debt. So there'll be a lot of discussion over that. Hopefully, the president will win out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be some goodwill if they can, give Americans back. And plus it will incentivize Americans to get behind more spending cuts.
Oh yeah. Might even bring on some folks that suggest some areas for them to look into. So I think it's a heck of an idea.
Yeah, I think so too. And of course, you can see the U.S. national debt is 36 trillion and counting. And we have the DOGE clock is on here as well, 126 trillion, $126 trillion. Or is that 120? That's 126 billion.
That's
isn't it?
26 billion, yeah. I think the goal is to get to 2 trillion. I don't think that's going to be a problem.
No, I don't think so either.
I mean, they
Not
had
based on what we
2.1
see.
trillion. Yeah. Well, they had 2.1 trillion missing from the Pentagon in 2001. No telling what that number is now.
Yeah, and of course, you always talk about the unfunded liabilities, right?
Oh yeah.
I see that number down. That's what, 226 trillion.
Yep.
So this doesn't really look good.
No, it's not a pretty picture at all.
No.
And obviously, our Congress people are not looking at this. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, they could care less.
Oh yeah. 180,000 and all they can steal, they'll take it.
So we also have the DOGE clock, which this one only shows 51.74 billion saved. So I'm not quite sure what the difference is between these two numbers, but I would say this is the official one from the DOGE.gov site. So,
but even that still, that's making progress. They've only been in operation about a month, and they're getting blocked from going in some of the agencies because of these crazy judges we got. Which that's just a whole nother subject. We got to deal with those guys. We got to have constitutional judges. We can't have guys that are infringing on the presidential rights, to run his own department. And that's exactly what's happening. Something's got to give there. But so far they're making pretty good progress against all odds.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it seemed like we know all the Democrats are against them, and a lot of the Rhino Republicans. Like you said, pretty good progress in a short amount of time. So the Department of Government Efficiency, so they found 4.7 trillion in payments where the TAS field was optional and most often is left blank, making it virtually impossible to trace where these payments went. So again, it's crazy.
Well, then I heard that those people over the Treasury, they were just instructed to pay it, pay whatever was presented to them. Don't ask questions, just pay it. Good grief. No wonder we're in the shape we're in.
Did these people graduate from college?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Did they go to accounting school?
It's crazy. Well, they're just on the grift too, Chris. I mean, just think of it. 93% of them don't show up for the office. They're working from home. They're getting a full paycheck. Some of them got 2 jobs. It's just a mess. And what do you expect? All we want is the paycheck. Let's, look forward to the next one. I'm glad to see the axe fall. I hope it falls and we on lots of them. They need to learn how to make an honest living.
Amen to that. Then on the right is a post from Elon Musk. So this is the amount of fraud, I guess, this is the number of people in each age group, right?
Yeah, in each age group that's in the Social Security system. So the kicker there is like there's over 20 million that's 100 years of age and older. We've even got one that's over 300 years old that's on the books. I mean, country's only going to be 250 years old next year.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'd like to meet these people that are 200 to 209 years old.
Ain't that the truth? Well, you know, if you think about it, of course, we know those people don't exist. So why are they still on the roll? Kind of makes me think that some illegal alien somewhere is drawing that check. Or
Yeah.
if you have a spouse that dies, or somebody in your family dies, they never catch up to it, and the checks just keep coming. I mean, there's lots of holes in the system they got to straighten out.
Yeah, I agree. And I think
They
you're
may
probably
find
right.
out Social Security. They may find out Social Security's got plenty of money. You know, but we'll see.
Definitely gonna be interesting to see once they get done with these audits. So Representative Tim Burchett says he thinks there's a paper trail of money that was sent overseas that ended up in the backs of pockets of lawmakers in Washington, D.C. Said there will soon be lots of retirements.
Well, that's exactly what I think. And I don't think they ought to let them retire. I think they need to have on orange jumpsuits, orange Crocs, and be put on a damn plane to Gitmo. And lots of them hung. I mean, we're going to have some justice in this country for these folks that are treasonous, what they're doing. We just can't keep putting up with it. Of course, by the way, he's my favorite representative, I think. Most plain-spoken man up there.
You need more like him.
Amen.
And so the Pentagon cannot account for $6 billion in money that went to Ukraine. And Lindsey Graham included $48 billion in aid for Ukraine in the spending bill that's moving through the Senate.
Well, the only thing I can say, if we send them another $48 billion, I hope they get Lindsey Graham to deliver it and stay. I mean,
that should be part of the terms.
yeah, we're gonna give it to him, but you got to go. Good Lord! I tell you, they don't need to give him another single damn penny.
No, we've given them far too much.
I mean, that's what the whole thing's about now with Trump. Is the European countries have given about $100 billion, and we've sent $300 billion over there. What kind of sense does that make? And we're not spending it. Wasn't spending any money on our border, but we're spending $300 billion in them jokers because Russia encroached on their border. It's crazy. And there's only one explanation to it. A lot of that money's coming back here. And it's doing like Tim Burchett said. It's going to wind up in the back pockets of some of these congressmen.
Money laundering.
Absolutely. It's just a money laundering operation. As well as lots of other stuff, you know. We're going to get into it with a USAID. That's all that was. It's just a big old money laundering operation.
Yeah, and speaking of more waste, what about this Obama library, which is still unfinished? After how many days? 2,551 and counting?
Yeah. I mean, come on.
$800 million for a library?
Yeah, you talking about graft and corruption. It's going on there. And the buildings, they're having some construction problems with it. Not only just delays, faulty construction. It'd be funny as hell to me if it got it finished and it just crumbled to the ground.
And so on the left, people have asked, is USAID mentioned the Q drops? If you look at Q drop 489, you have U.S. taxpayers, and of course you have foreign aid. So maybe that's your USAID. But then it goes on, who audits where the money actually goes? Who actually receives the money? The U.S. taxpayers funding the very people we are engaged in taking down. And this is a Q drop from 2018. Pretty interesting. And then on the right, we mentioned this, I think, in the last podcast about this underground mine, which is where they're processing retirements. We actually have a video on it, so we'll play that.
DOGE and Elon Musk have just exposed a decades-old underground mine. You're looking at it. It's in Vaers, Pennsylvania, and seemingly it's in the middle of nowhere. But it's where the United States federal government stores and processes retirement applications. Here's how Elon Musk described it.
There's a limestone mine where we store all the retirement paperwork. And you look at a picture of this mine. We'll post some pictures afterwards. And this mine looks like something out of the 50s because it was started in 1955. So it looks like it's like a time warp. And then the speed, the limiting factor is the speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal government. And the elevator breaks down and then sometimes, and then nobody can retire. Doesn't that sound crazy? There's like 1,000 people that work on this.
Wow. Now, a group of anonymous employees told the Butler Eagle from the Office of Personnel Management that they don't have an elevator, but nonetheless, look at these pictures. This is stunning. All of the paperwork stored right here. It looks like a time warp. And you can see inside this facility, these massive columns of limestone that's holding it all up. Millions of paper files are stored right here. And according to DOGE, every month, the facility takes about 10,000 applications for retirements and then sorts through them entirely by hand. Now, it's unbelievable that the government of the world's foremost superpower processes retirement applications 230 feet underground. There's one person who is not surprised by it, and he's sitting in the middle of our couch, and his name is Jason Chaffetz.
I got to tell you, there are a lot of storage facilities like this, and corporate America uses them all the time. But the idea that you have to do this by hand, that it's not automated, is ridiculous. Right. Elon Musk is 110% right. But if you want a secure facility that is temperature controlled, impervious to people getting in, a lot of caves are used throughout the country for corporate America. But this is not the first. Elon Musk, welcome to the show, because we've been talking about this for a while. Do you know in the military, they actually process rank advancements and pay increases with punch cards? They literally could not, they had to keep these like 80-year-old people employed because they were the only ones who knew how to fix the machines.
So the Washington Post did a deep dive on this, Kaylee, and it's fascinating. It talks about how some of these workers are depressed because they don't have windows. I don't blame them. I would be too. They order pizza down to the mine. It's really interesting. But here's what WAPO found. They said this: held up by all that paperwork in the mine runs as slowly now as it did in 1977. During the past 30 years, administrations have spent more than $100 million trying to automate the old-fashioned process in the mine and make it run at the speed of computers. They could not. Well, I know one man who can. Maybe it's the guy who sends rockets to space with SpaceX.
Yeah, and what's always telling is that you don't see any of the Democrats or the bureaucrats who are defending these programs. They never defend them on the merits. They never say, well, it's good that we keep all of our retirement paperwork 230 feet under the ground for these very specific reasons. Or no, it's very good that we sent $50 million of a condom shipment to wherever in the world because of these very specific reasons. Their only argument is that it is bad that Elon Musk is trying to change it for unspecified reasons. Well, that's not a very good explanation here, because if you can't defend something on the merits, then what is the point of keeping things as is? Why can Elon Musk not come in and try and update these systems, change things to make them more efficient and more efficient for the American taxpayer?
And on efficiency, Jason Chaffetz, you flagged this for us. I do want to play it. It's something that you found out about floppy disks.
This is an 8-inch floppy disk. It takes 3.2 million of these to equal one flash drive. So you can go get a flash drive down, at Best Buy, or you can get 3.2 million of these to get the same amount of data stored. And this is still what the Department of Defense is using.
Quite a visual.
It is absolutely stunning. I went on an AWACS airplane to go check it out. This was 2010. They were excited because they were just now installing Windows 95.
Yeah.
So to put out a bounty, let's go find out the most arcane system out there. I guarantee you there are places in the administration still using Windows 95.
Yeah, but those were not the windows they were looking at in the dungeon.
Yeah.
They wanted real windows. Look, two things hit me. There is probably a sea of litigants out there who have been waiting for their retirements to be processed. They're hand counting 10,000 a year, and for 1 year we looked at the number that they did was a little bit more than 7,000. I mean, not only is it inefficient, it's cruel.
Yeah.
Like if you're waiting to retire and you need that process after you spent your whole life doing something for the federal government, and they're so inefficient that they can't even thank you properly. And if you think thank you shouldn't come with money, I don't know what planet you live on. The other thing why are they quibbling over whether or not it's an elevator or a lift pulley system? That's the only thing that comes up?
Yeah.
Like, I want to quibble over how we move the paperwork. No, I want to quibble over why it's in the basement. Like, at least it's limestone, and that can pull out a little bit of the humidity. But is that why it's in the basement? 1,000 people? And are they on the list of retirement? Because then you got double jeopardy. I think there are going to be some people who come out of the woodwork and say, I've been waiting for my retirement to be processed, and now I know why it hasn't been.
Yeah. Guys, with all due respect for, obviously, that wonderful company that does that and those employees working really hard. The issue is not the cave. The issue is not the situs. It's the antiquated system. And when they say we've spent $100 million trying to automate it, but they couldn't, well, it wasn't lack of funding. It's the lack of ingenuity, and it's the lack of leadership saying this will be executed. When we think about our medical records, those have all been digitized. We know now, I'm sure, with all of our healthcare,
Right.
like you have to log on to a portal now. Law firms, the same. Why not the federal government? When I think about the security of this facility, the use of the caves, the protection of data privacy, well, I laugh at the fact that my information among the 92 million Americans whose information was breached, OPM hack of the government. The point is that this type of mountain is not needed because A, we get breached anyway, or at least we did under the prior administration.
That's right.
And B, that this isn't the kind of paperwork that the CIA needs to preserve. This is exactly what should be automated. To your point, the outrageous shrieks about this should be about what was uncovered. It should not be about the messenger, and it should not be about the attempts to change it. Because at the end of the day, if we want that security of our federal workforce, the safety of our brave warfighters in uniform, then we have to get with the times.
Yeah.
I would just add, we have to hang on to paperwork for the Internal Revenue, the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, for 7 years. They've had stuff down there for decades.
Yeah.
So if we have to keep up with a shorter time, I'm just wondering, what are they hanging on to?
And it is a balance, though, because we know computer systems can fail and be hacked. So having paper records has some efficacy. But regardless, I want to go down in the cave. That is a very exciting looking cave. Let's go.
Outnumbered in the cave.
Outnumbered from the
my
cave.
gosh. No.
That's just crazy.
It is.
And why do they need to process them underground in a tunnel? I mean, talking about way behind in technology.
Yeah, that blows my mind. I mean, we got all of the big tech companies in the world right here in the United States, and we're still operating like this? Goodness gracious.
And then they tried to automate it. Would they spend $100 million, they said?
Yeah, they spent $100 million trying to figure out how to get it automated, and they couldn't do it. I mean, they couldn't do it because they ain't got the will to do it. I mean,
that's ridiculous. Elon could probably automate it in a week. It would be completely done.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, we got all the high tech people in the world right here, the best ones, and we operate like that. And unfortunately, it's not just limited to the retirements. Said they were still back when he was in the house. He said that they were using floppy disk. My goodness.
I hadn't seen one of those since college.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I mean, this is just stupidity. I mean,
well, there may be a method to the madness. It's kind of like, if we can't keep up with it, how do we know what happened? You know, we got trillions of dollars that's missing. And like we just read, 4.7 trillion of it's not even traceable.
Yeah.
And it's because of such crap as this right here.
It may be it may be intentional.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, the more you got on the computer, the easier it is for somebody to get you. We need look like we need a total overhaul.
Yeah, we do.
Now they got all the up-to-date scientific, technical stuff when it comes to spying on us. Just operationally, they don't have it.
Here's another Q drop. This is 1194, Federal Reserve ending. Well, we've heard talk about it, about ending the Federal Reserve, and I think it needs to be abolished. So hopefully that's something that's going to happen at some point.
Well, Andrew Jackson's the last one that got rid of the central bank. It's going to be a tough thing to do, but it needs to go.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, it definitely needs to go. It's a privately owned bank. And then on the right, Department of Government Efficiency. So the U.S. government currently has 4.6 million active credit cards, which process 90 million unique transactions, $40 billion spent in 2024. I mean, that's pretty crazy. That's a lot of money.
Yep. And I think they found out most of it was the Department of Defense. We can look down there and see.
Yeah, you think you're right.
So they, they're number one. And of course we have Fort Benning in our local area, and I know a lot of people that have done business with the government. I mean, they have a limit on those credit cards, but that doesn't mean they can run several charges through for the same item without having a competitive bid. So one of the things they can do is, I think, is look at these government purchasing agents. There's a lot of theft going on there. And it's in the form of bribes. They overpay and they get, the government overpays for it, but the money comes back to the buyer, the actual buyer for the agency. You need to stop that.
So a country run by banks will always be in debt. A healthcare run by big pharma will never cure disease. A state run by war will never know peace. A nation run by media will never know the truth. I agree wholeheartedly with that.
Yep, that's a good one right there.
Yeah, then on the right, all of the birds in the world. Funny how only birds they kill because of the bird flu are chickens. And all of the animals in the world. Funny how the only animal farts cause global warming are cow farts. The two things we eat the most.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah, they're talking about this bird flu. Have you ever heard about how many chickens the bird flu actually killed? Or of actual flocks of birds that have died because of the bird flu?
No.
I ain't heard of none of that.
I haven't either.
But you'll kill a million chickens because 2 of them got the flu? How you know they got the flu? You give them a test? I mean, exactly. I was looking today, I was buying eggs, 5 dozen in a carton for $15 to $30 now. It's because of this crap and the government going out there and killing millions of chickens because 1 or 2 might be sick, or maybe some chickens close by that's sick, not even their chickens. This is crazy. And it all goes back to this big pharma thing over here. They wanting to have another pandemic, and they want it to be the bird flu or some crazy dang ailment. It just kills me why people can't wake up to see it.
I know, and we're going to.
How many people have been killed before they had the flu? Probably lots of them we don't know about. I don't know. It's frustrating. I'm hoping that Bobby Kennedy's going to get to the bottom of it.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about COVID. We have a couple of videos we're going to show, then we'll come back.
We all know now that people have been lied to. It was a gigantic lie. And on this lie, everything that governments, especially in the Western democracies, did to infringe on people's rights, to take away their freedom, to lock them in their homes, imposing curfews. All of this was based on that gigantic lie. And yeah, I can only thank my colleagues. We are doing an incredible job in this COVID committee, and we will get to the bottom of things, and we will get the answers that the people that you deserve. We will work on that, and we will continue to work on that. But, and that is the other message, none of that would have been possible to do if we did not have the massive, enormous support of you, the people. Because you took to the street, you showed your governments that you will not put up with this and you will not stand for this. And for that, I really thank you and I applaud you, and I will do so right now.
So Gavi, that's Bill Melinda Gates started Gavi. This is the Vaccine Alliance, Global Vaccine Alliance. And we look into the books here for the USAID payment system. And you can see just from this screenshot here, Gavi, now this is over several years, but $4 billion the USAID was paying to Gavi. And you can go down there a little bit, another $880 million payment. You see the World Health Organization in there, a little over $700 million payment. So there's a lot of money going to really Bill Gates, the World Health Organization. And it's interesting because as soon as Trump suspended the payment system for this 90-day review and Musk moved in, you saw Bill Gates do a media tour, and it sounded like this.
So I'm a little worried, particularly with this USAID stuff. My foundation partners with USAID on nutrition and getting vaccines out. And, there's incredible people. They're not actually worms that work there. So, hopefully we'll get some of that work back in shape. In fact, if we don't, you could have literally millions of deaths.
So I posted at the start of the show that we were going to be covering this, which we are now. Musk commented and said, wow, DOGE discovers USAID secretly funnels $4 billion to Bill Gates, plus another $880 million, the World Health Organization, that also received over $700 million. Tune in now for the latest. Well, you're going to get the latest now. And this is just one little drip drop, one little tranche, one little bite of what old Billy Boy is getting from the federal government. Arrest Bill Gates, says Liz Churchill, for planning pandemics. Yeah, he bragged about it. USAID has funneled $4 billion to Bill Gates. And he's got his Gavi around the world to control world health responses. Involved in everything, the World ID, everything. Then we've got the WEF putting out videos admitting they're colonizing us with mRNA. That's coming up. Let's go ahead and go to the clip of the High Wire with the investigative journalist joining him. Here it is.
Let's stick with the focus of our audience. So Gavi, that's Bill Melinda Gates started Gavi. This is the Vaccine Alliance, Global Vaccine Alliance. And we look into the books here for the USAID payment system. And you can see just from this screenshot here, Gavi, now this is over several years, but $4 billion the USAID was paying to Gavi. And you can go down there a little bit, another $880 million payment. You see the World Health Organization in there, a little over $700 million payment. So there's a lot of money going to really Bill Gates, the World Health Organization. And it's interesting because as soon as Trump suspended the payment system for this 90-day review and Musk moved in, you saw Bill Gates do a media tour, and it sounded like this.
So I'm a little worried, particularly with this USAID stuff. My foundation partners with USAID on nutrition and getting vaccines out. And, there's incredible people. They're not actually worms that work there.
Yeah.
So, hopefully we'll get some of that work back in shape. In fact, if we don't, you could have literally millions of deaths.
I mean, we report on this guy all the time, Jeffrey. I think it's questionable whether he does good. There's international lawsuits now against his vaccine programs, accusations of things like sterilization programs going on. There's real questions on whether his polio vaccine program is causing polio. I spoke with Robert Redfield that has some concerns on that. So, but all things being equal, I think one of the conversations that came up is we all heard when Bill Gates went and met with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago, everyone's like, oh my God, they're buddying up. He's going to start working for Bill Gates again. And there was real concerns in our audience, in our movement. But I would say, if you're just going to read the tea leaves here, after those meetings, President Trump has pulled funding from WHO. He's just shut down USAID for a deep review, which you're about to get into, which clearly none of this works in Bill Gates's favor. So for those of us that were really questioning what happened in that meeting, well, whatever happened, it does not appear that Bill Gates set his hooks into President Trump and has got him on a leash of any kind. In fact, so far, everything seems to be going against Bill Gates's agenda, which is, I think, is we're just noting that. Is that the permanent structure? I don't know, but that's what we're recognizing right now.
And Bill Gates is pretty clear character. He's kind of a one-trick pony. Anything that seems to subtly threaten him, you'll see him do a media tour and just go, millions will die, sorry. And then you'll hit, this headline was made on that same interview. Bill Gates says the odds of another pandemic in the next 4 years are 10 to 15%. We're not prepared. So he comes out, people are going to die, another pandemic, basically do not cut my funding. And we saw that during COVID as well, when the vaccine hesitancy was coming. He was kind of playing the same game there. And there's Bill Gates, Mr. Sweater.
And it's always formulaic. This weekend I get all these calls. Look, Ebola, 2 people with Ebola in New York. And I said, it's always New York. It's always the same hospitals. It's PR. And a day later, it wasn't Ebola. Oh, new bird flu. We're all dead. And then, Biden orders 100 million chickens killed. It's all about fear. And the documents came out last week out of USAID where they fund programs to brainwash school kids in public and private schools to be hypochondriacs and scared of viruses. This is mind control. They teach you to be scared of something, take your nutrition away so you're sick, and then Big Pharma is going to be your daddy.
So this is taken from the Vaers report. And so if you notice, this is the Vaers COVID vaccine adverse events report. And this is through January 31st, 2025. There were 1.6 million reports. Notice there's 38,398 deaths due to the COVID vaccine, 220,000 hospitalizations, 22,000 heart attacks, 28,000 myocarditis, and there are 246,000 doctor visits. And it's been estimated that this is only, about 1% of actual reports?
Right. That's right. Well, I want to go back on that Bill Gates deal for a minute. Just a second, Chris. We give $4 billion to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and he said they're partnering with USAID. It sounds like USAID is funding them. No partnership at all. I mean,
no.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
and then again, just apply that what you just said is they only report maybe 10%, or the highest I've ever seen was 10%. So if it's 10% report, just take that 38,000 and multiply it by 10. If it's 1%, multiply it by 100. That's a big range, but you're talking about somewhere between 400,000 and 4 million. Pick a number of actual deaths from that vaccine. And of course it applied to all the other numbers too. And in Harvard, I believe, or Oxford, one was the one that reported on the actual incidence of reporting. And they came up with that number of 1 in 100 or 10 in 100, whatever. So for the life of me, I've had this argument. Every drug you see advertised on TV, they give you a list of adverse effects. There was not a single one listed on this vaccine. Not a single one. I've seen the data sheets that were taken out of the shots that were blank. So they're in a big cover up, and all this stuff going on with the U.S. With the CDC. What Bobby Kennedy's going to do, we're going to find out a whole lot of stuff about that, because you got to remember that Vaers report is actually, that's a function of the CDC.
Yeah, and this report is pretty telling. I mean, even if you only looked at this report, 38,000 deaths. I mean, normally if a vaccine only has a few deaths, they pull it from the market.
Oh yeah.
You know? But this is still out there with that many deaths.
Hey, listen, and people are still taking the dang thing. I mean, they're still pushing it. I mean, Moderna never made a profit until they manufactured their COVID vaccine. And they had people that became multi-millionaires off of that one deal. So, and I mean, it's still operating with a, emergency authorization too. There's been no research on those things, and the research that was done was hidden. When we finally finding out the actual Pfizer data, it just blows your mind.
And we showed in the last podcast how many of our politicians is getting paid by big pharma and the medical industry. So we can see now.
Yeah,
why this
and we also know that all of them were exempt from having to take it. They wanted to make us take it, but they didn't have to. Them or their staffs. Yeah, they were getting paid. They were getting paid by these big pharmaceutical companies to kill Americans. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's all part of the depopulation plan, I think.
Depopulation, yeah, and then just the corruption. I mean, these people going. I saw the other day where that crazy Crockett woman out of Texas has only been in the house 2 years, and she went from being worth nothing to $9 million. So you know why she screams and hollers and acts like a crazy lady. Somebody's paying her big money to do it.
And all these people have big pharma in their pockets, or big pharma has them in their pockets.
Absolutely. And I tell you, this funny thing on that one slide on the right that you just said that the ownership, the Vaers, is co-managed by the CDC and the FDA. Boy, doesn't that give you a real level of comfort?
Yeah.
Because, at the FDA, those guys, the people that serve on the FDA, they swap out with these big pharmaceutical companies. There'll be an officer with a pharmaceutical company today, and tomorrow they on the board at the FDA. In the meantime, we all out here working our fingers to the bone for them jokers to be stealing from us and killing us.
So these are some posts. It was on X. So one of them. So the first one is 4 states fighting to protect their citizens from mRNA shots. So we have Kentucky, Iowa, Idaho, and Texas. And then there were 5 states fighting to make ivermectin over the counter. And it looks like now there's 8 states they're trying to make ivermectin over the counter. So I hope they do. I mean, it's been proven it's it's a wonder drug, and it was effective against COVID.
Yeah, I certainly hope to see that happen everywhere.
And then on the right, it talks about RFK Jr. and the issues 2 bombshell orders on vaccines, and a move that makes mainstream doctors terrified. Well, he's making them all terrified just in general about being, getting appointed. So he's Big Pharma's, biggest enemy, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, and Anthony Fauci's got to be shaking in his boots.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't think Bill Gates was too happy either.
No.
But I'm hoping RFK Jr.'s going to follow through with a lot of this that he's talking about, and he truly is going to make America safe. I think he wants to ban the pharmaceutical commercials. I think that was one of the things he talked about.
Well, I think that'd be the first thing, and then that he should do. I mean, you can't watch a TV show now without they just load it up with ads from the big pharma. I'd like to see that happen. And the next thing he needs to do is the drugs we're going to be taking, and needs to get the prices down in line with what the rest of the world's paying for them. Because basically what we're doing, we're paying the drug companies to advertise to us in the form of higher prices for drugs.
Yeah, it is crazy. And two, we sourcing a lot of the drugs are sourced in China. Particularly a lot of the antibiotics.
Oh yeah, I mean between China and India, that's basically where all your drugs coming from. Your generics.
That was a pretty informative podcast, Johnny. I mean, I think there was some pretty good information here. Hope that everyone can take something away from it.
Me too. I thought it was good subject matter, good information. And with that, Chris, I think I'm going to say good night here from Opelika, Alabama, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
And I'm going to sign out from Opelika, Alabama as well. We'll catch you on the next podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.